Basically, I'm just going to talk a little bit about my
Oh,
experience. Now, I'm
yeah.
not an Android developer. Yeah, I'm not an Android developer, so my perception of DroidCon is on some sense a little bit limited. But actually, that's the first thing I wanted to say is I'm really grateful to the DroidCon team for taking a chance. So I went to give a talk as a web developer, which is weird, right? In fact, for the longest time, so what I had done early in the year is I applied to Kotlin Conf because I'm like, Kotlin Conf is the natural fit to talk about what I'm working on. The JetBrains folks, they're working on Compose multi-platform for web. What I'm working on is kind of a complement to that. I don't know if they see it that way,
Maybe
but I hope that they do. But basically, that I thought like, yeah, I'll go there, and then they rejected the 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 talk idea, which is fine. I don't know, I can't know why they rejected it, but there's plenty of valid reasons to reject it. And then because they rejected it, I applied to DroidCon, and I'm like, they're not going to say yes. If like Kotlin Conf didn't say yes, DroidCon is going to be like, who is this guy? Kobweb is my web framework. I mean, it's basically you get to write your websites in Kotlin. JetBrains put out a technology called Compose HTML, which basically is like Compose. If you're not familiar with Compose, there's no way I'm going to be able to give you enough context right now to understand it. But basically, Compose is a really nice reactive engine, and the way that most Android developers use it is for UI development. In the world of Compose HTML, you use Compose to generate an HTML DOM, right? You're creating HTML elements, and essentially you're using Kotlin to write raw websites. And so my framework sits on top of Compose HTML to make it a lot more user friendly, in my opinion. And when the talk is out, you can, there's a recording so people can kind of see a little bit more detail for themselves. But yeah, I kind of went there with the idea of like, hey, you're all Android developers, you all use Compose, you'd use Compose to make websites. Isn't that interesting? And I didn't, as I said, I did not expect them to take it, to take the talk idea, but they did. So I went there for the most part feeling like I was an imposter, like I'm a fraud. There was just a mistake. They're going to give my talk, and they're going to be, who is this guy? Why is he here? But anyway, but despite that, I'll get a little bit more into that in a moment. But just I just really want to say thanks to the team there. They were really good. Greg is I think he's the guy who runs it. And then later I met Ty Smith, and he was also, I mean, he was very friendly. And yeah, it turns out that they were very excited to have a web developer to kind of expand the audience. I don't know if that many Android developers were really that excited. I know if I was an Android developer and I was there and I had it, because every session you have to choose between 4 talks.
yes.
And even for me, as someone who's not Android, there were still times where I had to make a choice and I didn't know where to go to. So I would imagine if you're an Android developer, even if you were kind of interested in web development, I doubt it applies to your professional career. And a lot of the people who are there were professional. But nonetheless, I'm glad that I'll have a recording out of it, and it was a lot of fun to see everything. So one thing I did notice is there's like a lot of AI in talks right now. And I don't mean that in the sense that people are talking about AI. I did go to a talk or two where they were talking about how to integrate AI into your Android app, because I'm kind of interested in knowing how to do that in the web space. But I mean, people would use AI to create content for their slides. And I found it creepy. Maybe not for the I mean, there's a lot of controversy about AI right now, but it wasn't even that. It was just like, I think what happens is you're working on your slides and you want to fill content out. You want to make it look like more than just text. And for the longest time, you're like, well, what can I do, right? A lot of people would find memes online and they put those in. But all of a sudden, AI feels like this great way to fill out content. And yet, I don't know. I feel like if you don't have the design skills, maybe this is an opinion here, but if you don't have the design skills to make a good set of slides already, like trying to pick AI images that go in, I don't know, it didn't seem to work. Like I think people chose AI pictures that looked a little bit creepy, but they were like good enough and they just sort of threw it in there. And so I actually kind of found that as a negative, which I was pretty surprised by.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same opinion. I don't believe in. I'm not one of the AI believers. I I think AI is a tool, and it's a tool that has
Mhm.
some uses, but they're not that many. And I don't think trying to shoehorn AI into everything is going to really work well for the future.
I think it was actually a pretty
Uh,
interesting metaphor for this, actually, because what you had is people who were using AI, they're kind of extending the use of AI, and it didn't quite fit, but they're tech enthusiasts, so they were happy to put it in. Like they're sort of grabbing the technology and being aggressive with it. But I don't know. For me, I felt that was a little bit weird. One of the developers did stick figures, and I like that a lot more. He even joked about it at the time. He was like, this is my slides. Everyone else using AI. Here's my stick figures. But I found them a lot more charming and a lot more personable.